Okay, well, Jutta.
Okay, so I start with the sentence I told already those who were there before. It was quite a challenge for me to think about this article because it's quite a long time ago. It was written 2006. And I had to reread it. And sometimes when I read my articles again, after some while, I'm always surprised what I have written. and sometimes it's good to read it again. And I found it quite entertaining. Maybe I would not write it in the same way now, but I think it's a good start to discuss because you are from different countries and different cultures. And cultures is a term which can be defined in different ways and is not only a part of a country or a nationality, but it's also each group has a culture. So from my experience, when we made this ESA conference, this meeting of students of universities and private institutes, we found out that universities have quite a different culture than private psychodrama institutes, and it is not easy to find a way to bring these different cultures together and work with those in one group. So my interest in the beginning was when I started with this article, was I worked a lot in different countries, and I registered there or noticed that that the people are different and expect something different and have some behavior I was not used to. And then I started to think about what makes this difference and why in some countries not. And so by reading articles regarding culture and these differences, I found out a lot of things which were interesting, and I hope they are interesting for you. So maybe as a warm-up, think about a culture in which you are or which you are familiar with. So that can be your national culture, or it can be a group where you're in. Think about what does it mean for you, or how do you realize you are in a particular culture? What is it in which maybe you try to find a gesture which is describing the culture you are thinking about. Okay, Arsha, yeah. Some else. It's not so easy, huh? Okay. Like this. Okay. This. Was this a gesture, Inaj? No.
I'm just thinking.
Yes, thinking. Okay.
But for the Middle East, maybe the gesture can be.
Oh, okay. It's, yeah. One more. It is bending your head from outside, or
Try to find the balance. Try to balance.
Try to do the balance. Okay. Mm-hmm. This means, can you say a sentence or a word, Gabi?
mixtures. Everybody's connect with everybody in different way.
Okay. Agi, this is.
We say we all are cousins. We all are cousins.
I
You don't understand?
No.
In Bulgaria, we say we all are cousins.
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 Cousins. Relatives.
Relatives, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Very
Mixed together. And Agi, what was this?
So for German organizations, we are so stressed out, we are so tired, and it's too much, and it's very strenuous.
And always thinking, or it's
Always thinking as well.
okay. Asha, what was this gesture?
Yeah, well, I was thinking my clinical groups, women's groups, they were mixture of cultures. Some were intellectuals,
This one
talking from the head, and the
Okay.
others from the heart.
Okay, and they are in one group.
Yeah, in one group. So I have to think that some are more educated and the others are less educated.
Okay. Any others? No. Okay. So we have got some. So it's not. So when I think about Austria, yeah. So it's more like this. Yeah. So it is always a maybe. Can be like this. Can be like this. Yeah. Like this. So if we can find sometimes very easily some core characteristic of a culture. So when we, what I mentioned first, this International Spring Academy, where we've put students of universities and students or trainees of private institutes together, the students of the university, they are very much in their brain and they don't like to be touched, not emotional and like this. So it's very different from the others. The psychodrama institutes, the private, they are very emotional, they hug, they do a lot of things together. And the others are more distant, observing. This is university culture. Maybe in universities in other countries it's different, but when you come with most universities have more intellectual observing attitude with less context in between and to be less emotional. So this was something I realized quite often in different countries, that this part of being emotional and close and in relationship to others is in contrast to other countries where they are more distant and don't like to be touched, don't like to be emotional, more intellectual, more observing, more bound in language and not so much in doing and acting. And for psychodramatists, it's not so easy, because we are, in our method is very close to emotions, to action, and to adapt it to people who don't like it, are afraid of. And Moreno himself was someone who was, when we see how he was described, was a very emotional one, coming from a country where relations, closeness, action was important, was a part of the culture. And he had to adapt also in the culture of being in a country like Austria, which was quite a mixture of a lot of different cultures. But he was first in Austria and then going to the United States, which are also a mixture of cultures, but much more intellectual than coming from Romania. And I was wondering how he did in this country when he had a lot of other ideas how to behave together with other people. But as I saw psychodrama in different countries and practiced by different psychodramatists from different countries, I saw that psychodrama is quite adaptable to a lot of different styles and ways of doing. So I think to learn about the culture of a country, the history of a country, the language and the sound of the language and what the words are meaning, I think it's important to find a good way to do psychodrama in different countries and with different people. And if you have a mixture in one group with from different countries, then it's even more important because they are struggling with these different ways of doing, ways of getting in contact with each other. So my question is more now, what are your experiences? Because we can learn from each other, and you have your experiences too. So what do you think is the challenge of different cultures in doing psychodrama? So maybe you can share some experiences.
Well, I think the mainstream in the Netherlands is now that everything has to be evidence-based, and psychodrama isn't evidence-based. And so it is a lot of drama therapists see the good things, and then when they have cognitive therapy, they say it is a good addition to the therapy, but still it is not valued. It is not a valued method for the mainstream in the health therapy.
Why?
Because they do think that it is well, drama is nice, so the body is more coming to the therapy itself and playing, but they don't accept psychodrama as a mainstream therapy.
Okay. I think it's good that you mentioned the culture of different methods in psychotherapy.
Yeah.
Because each method has its own culture. How
yes.
they
yes.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it is sad because when we are doing here psychodrama, we do it very structured. So you go ahead. The question of the protagonist is the item of the psychodrama, but still they think it is not a good method. They still are afraid that it is too much or too.
Too much emotion, too much.
Yeah, and you don't sit with it. You don't sit in a chair. You walk around, and I think most therapists are a bit afraid to walk around.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, the experiences. Maybe, yeah.
My experience with the different culture is everyday experience, because in my country we are a lot of different people, different in the religions, in beliefs, in nationality, a lot of different cultures, the way of thinking and way of living. And I'm working with the LGBT and with cancer patients, and all of them are very different in their way of living and thinking and keeping emotions. And some of my individual clients are from other countries. And I found that psychodrama helping very much to work with all differences. I never found somebody who will not accept, or doesn't matter what they believe.
So you don't change your way of doing psychodrama, or do you adapt it to people?
More adapted the way of talking, because if somebody from we have this Muslim and Orthodox, and but the what we are talking, the theme changing. We can talk about the Bible, about the Quran, about the biology, about the music, but doing psychodrama is always the same way, changing the roles, mirroring, techniques are the same. But maybe talking with them about the what is their interest and how they are living, the worlds are changing. And I think that in psychodrama, doing psychodrama, I very much understand what is spontaneous in creativity, because when it's putting this in psychodrama, becoming very nice combination, because just to be what you are, and the leader, the director or therapist is that one who have to be very open, to know how to accept, to don't make differences. I think that it's very much depend on us, like a therapist.
Okay. So I tell you an example. So when I was first time, where was it? I think it was in Italy, in the south, in Sicily, and in another southern, in Greece. When I am used, when I start psychodrama, I'm try to be on time. So I start on time. And no one was there. So the people came after a while, then they started eating, then they started drinking, then they started talking. And it was, I think, 3/4 of an hour later, people slowly sat down and we started working. I was not sure if in my country, you have to start in that moment when when it was scheduled. So I was not sure if I should react, because if a patient comes late, then I would ask the patient what is hindering, what is like this. In this case, I think it would have been silly to ask, why are you late? Yeah, but I was a bit confused and I felt a bit uneasy because I thought they are not interested or like this. So this interpretation is wrong. Yeah, when I come in this country and see they are completely different, why are they doing like that? Of course, we are used to think, okay, now we are in another country, they are doing different. Okay, we do it like this. I cannot stick to my way of doing it. I do it differently then. So this is an example where I cannot do always the same thing what I am doing usually or in my culture. So maybe there are some examples you have regarding this. Yeah? Hi, Marco. Any comments to this?
Jutta, what you were telling, it's not always because of the culture, but because who was the leader or who has taught the method to them. So it has to do with the leader also. They were trained mainly.
But when they haven't had any leader before,
No,
so when
no.
you start with a new group.
So in my country, when I go to another group that they are trained by another leader, it is different than mine. So they start drinking, but I don't want them to drink or whatever, to sit without eating. So, I can tell something. Once I was in IAGP conference, and so one of the participants, American participants, said, almost we were waiting to start, but he said, a man, I don't want to be touched. I don't want to be touched. And I realized that the group leader did not touch us any. So I thought she was inhibited somehow. And so in our country, of course, nowadays, most of them are, I'm Christian, but Muslim, but some of them are religious and don't want to be touched. So at the beginning of the group, we ask, if you don't want to be touched, you say no. So it happened to me last week. At the end of the group, so I said, now let's hold our hands. So there were women and men, and the woman said, I don't want to hold that man's hand. And I said, okay, you can hold whatever or wherever you want, but she could hold the belt, the shoulder or something, not the, yeah, something like that. So to be flexible like this.
Yeah, you found a way how to do it. And what you mentioned, that the leader is also responsible for creating a culture in a group, like a group culture, which can be very different from another one. This is also possible. This touching and not touching is something in psychodrama. It's essential or part of. So in this international group of International Spring Academy, we had students from Austria and students from Italy and students from Finland, I remember. And there were this group from Austria, they were students from a university, so intellectual, not emotional, like this. And after the first day, these Austrian students were crying a lot because they say, I can't stand all these emotions and all this closeness and being so near to other. And beside that, there was an Italian girl also crying, and she said, they don't like me, they don't touch me. So I think they hate me because no one is hugging me, no one is touching me, no one. So we had two people who cannot stand this different way of dealing with each other. So not because of the trainer did something different, but because they interpreted the action of the other in a completely different way. So not touching was for the one group, I am not lovable, they don't like me, I am isolated. And for the other group, it was it's overwhelming, and they are much too close to me. So what Asha mentioned before, to ask who want to be touched, who doesn't want to be touched, can help in the beginning to do it. If you are not aware of it, maybe you miss this question or you don't ask. And then you have frustrated people on both sides.
Well, I've not been a director in other countries, but I have been a participant in other countries. And once I was in Germany, and when I have a question, I just ask the question. And in that group, nobody asked a question, but they were all talking about things in the break. And I said, why don't you ask it, or just bring it in the group?
Mm-hmm.
And then the leader of the group said, yes, I like your Dutch people because you're always so direct. And I think that is also a culture thing, because if we want to speak about something, we just do it.
Exactly. This is the Netherlands, the Germans, the Swedish people. They can speak very direct.
Yeah.
The more you go to the south, I think it's more mixed.
Yeah.
Diffuse. So yeah.
But it made me, certainly when I do something in FEPTO, I have always to be aware that I not be so direct.
Yeah, because there are some association also to this directness. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
it's very close to be authoritarian, or to put yourself on a hierarchy very high, or like this. And even if you don't want, or if you don't be like this, but people think when it is like done like that. Maybe it's interesting to have this this image, this structure of, I think it's done by
You
by
mean figure
Halle.
2?
Hmm?
Figure 2
Yeah,
in your article.
yeah.
Yes.
I'm just looking for it. I think it was this one. Is it possible that I can share
Yes.
an image?
Uh-huh.
Can you see it?
Mhm.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
we see.
Yes.
There are some different images I had in this article. This one is, I think, of Trompenaar, who is a social scientist. So he divided groups, cultural groups, in those cultures who emphasize equality and the decentralization. On the other side, more hierarchy and centralization, and on the other side, person-orientated or task-orientated. And here you can see that there are some countries, not all the countries, but some countries are put in these corners, which are, for example, goal-oriented, which mean they are more person-orientated, equality, decentralization, like Sweden or Denmark, or power-orientated, like Spain, South Korea, or Greece, or role-orientated, like Germany, France, or Australia, or project-orientated, like the United States, Ireland, or Norway. So if you have a mixture of people from these different countries, you have to be aware that these people maybe struggle a bit to understand what other people are meaning, how other people are reacting to the others, and misunderstanding could be the result of it. And there are also some countries where masculinity has a high level, and some not. So, for example, it was it who works in India? Asha, who was it? The name is not here. It doesn't matter. But he told me that it was very difficult when his girlfriend wanted to lead the group. They were co-trainers or co-leaders of the group, and the people didn't accept this, that a woman is leading the group. They didn't even want to listen to her. And this is a problem, yeah. When you want to direct a group and they say no, we don't we want to have a man who is directing the group. It's quite extreme, but it could happen. When you think about your country, so not the special culture in the country, but your country where you are living in, what are the characteristics of your country and the people there? Sorry, in term of emotional, person-orientated, task-orientated, or specific, versus
I think
the
here
briefs.
we are goal orientated, but also task orientated,
Mhm.
because we do like to have a task done.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it is not only the person, but it is also the task.
Yeah.
But we are, what he is saying in the figure, he's saying equality.
Quality.
We do have that here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
I
no
think
high.
this is quite different from Germany. Equality is not a main issue in Germany. It's more a hierarchic structure.
Yeah, but here in the Netherlands, it is
Yeah.
not.
Even if you are quite close, yeah. Agi, are you from Germany?
Yes, I am from Germany. I think it's very task oriented, and it's not a very personal style. You shouldn't be too emotional. And yeah, it's also a bit hierarchy, but at the same time, it has to be very fair. Yeah, it has to be. So I think that's also important. Hierarchy, yes, but a certain kind of fairness is wanted. So that's what I always feel when I work with groups in Germany. So and very direct. Yeah, exactly.
Direct. Yeah.
We just go straight to the point, and we don't talk around.
Yeah.
A very good friend of mine, she is Swiss, and she always tells me, "Oh yeah, the Germans are so tuck, so very quickly and hard, and yeah, stuff like that."
Yeah, and this is very different from Austria. In Austria, we need maybe 10 sentences. For a German person would need 2 words.
Yes.
So we leave everything open, so everyone can find a way. It's never say yes or no, or I do it or I don't do it. But in Austria is everything possible, even if it is not possible. But people don't like to make clear decisions and tell others that there is a clear decision.
Yesterday, somebody told me a very interesting thing about Swedish culture. That's a German guy who works in the Swedish culture for a long time now, and he told me they are very indirect and very polite as well. And the worst thing somebody can tell you, if he's from Sweden, he would be, "Okay, I hear you," or "I see your point," which means total disagreement. Yeah, but he never would go to tell you very straight that he doesn't like your idea. He said, "Okay, I hear you," or "I see your point."
Yeah. And what is also different in cultures can be individuality and more oriented to the community or to other people. So for example, in Asia, the solidarity between people is much more valued than the individual person. So to talk about your inner life, your inner problems like this is not valued at all. So you can talk about problems within the society and what is happening there, but not about your individual problems. It's not good to talk about it. So when we think about psychotherapists are like that people are talking and working on their inner feelings, on their experiences and like this, it's not so easy when you are working in these countries. So you have more focusing on the community and the togetherness of people. Or when you see in South America, politics and how people deal with each other is much more valued than the story of one. But it's a bit under another aspect than in Asia. Therefore, social drama has found a good ground in South America. Not so much. Social drama would not be possible in Austria, for example. for some people who are interested in it, maybe, yeah, but not for most of the people, because they don't want to share with others too much. Nothing in openness. It has to be closed. So for this reason, to work with a single person in a single session or with one person one-to-one was one of the thing which was developed mostly in Austria, because people wanted to be very close, not too open in groups, not to talk about what the neighbor could know from you or like this. So it's yeah, and theory was a lot developed in Germany, in Austria, much more than in many other countries. It's interesting that Turkey developed a lot in theory. I think there is something in common in the culture of
And Jutta, Greta Lois was our trainer, of course. Yeah.
Yes.
So the culture is from Germany. Our culture comes from Germany.
But I think it would not be the same, or it would not so develop if there would not be something in your country which referred to it. So I think there has to be how to say, something which is connecting to the same attitude.
And also our trainer, the main trainer, was a university professor, and then many people from university were group members, so they were used to theories or etc.
Because Anna, you mentioned before these different cultures in the different approaches of psychotherapy. So I remember in IHP when there was the psychoanalysts in one room and the psychodramatists in another room, and the psychodramatist room was always loud and a lot of chaos in it, and the analysts were always sitting very neat on their seats. So it was you could see the different approach only watching, just not even understanding what they talk about.
I found in my country now, what it's good that I'm here to start to think about this. I found that the culture is changing. The older people, they're talking more about emotions, like it was very specific for my country. But the young people are more task-oriented.
Okay.
And more strict, like they know more about what they want and what they're looking for.
Mimi, what is your country? Where are you from?
North Macedonia.
Ah, okay, thank you.
And
why do you think it changed?
Changing the way of thinking, the way of living, and more the young people are more open, traveling a lot, and I think that maybe internet have very much influence on their way of thinking and doing and living. And it's very interesting to see how it is changing, and it's change going in all cultures what are here. The older people and younger people are different. It's
interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Marco, what do you think about Italy and about the different culture in the north and in the south?
We live in a big theater. it is very interesting to understand the language, the cultural language in the south of Italy and in the center of Italy. But in these years, television and movement, roads, communication, trains, works. And my father was a Southman from Calabria.
Okay.
And I would like to tell you a little story. When his father put him on a train, he was 6 years old, and his father says, Francesco, you don't come back in Calabria anymore in your life. Promise it. And my father promised it. And my father didn't return in Calabria, to Calabria in his life. And I never went to Calabria. I don't know Calabria landscape, sea, culture, food, people. I don't. I know Calabrian people in Torino, because in Torino is we are a big community, Calabrian community in Torino, because of Fiat automobile, the factory of cars. And my father, when my father came to Torino, he was in the school, and his teacher said, Francesco, I don't understand you. I don't understand your language. And my father said, I don't understand you. I don't understand you. And this was my story. And but the situation in Italy is really in these years is very different. So, but if I go to work in Sicily with psychodrama, I have a colleague of mine, Salvatore Pace. Some of you know Salvatore Pace. I share with him the different language and the different mentality to approach people, Sicilian people, around in a stage with psychodrama. It is a very different to, even with the body, with the smell, the architecture. He works in a theater, in a Greece theater, for example. So I work in a little theater built by my architect. I don't use the sun. He used the sun, for example, even in winter time. This is the differences. These are the differences. Italy is a very, very, very rich theater. So thank you, Jutta. Sorry for my late, but thank you. I read your article, very interesting. So it is very inspired.
But you mentioned something which is really interesting. This is the culture within one person. So there are different cultures where we were coming from and what we have heritated from our ancestors.
And sorry, Jutta, my mother was from Sarsina in Romagna, Emilia-Romagna. In Sarsina, born Plauto. Plauto is a Latin writer of theater. Plauto. And I was in a family very strange, Calabrian and Calabria. My father was like Calabria. No words, only work, work, no words. My mother work and words, gestures, hugs, crying. My father never, my father. So I lived in a little theater.
Thank you. Thank you. So these cultures within us, the different cultures within us, and some we like, some attitudes we like, some heritages we like, some not. And so you mentioned Calabria is a country which can also very different. If people are living at the seaside or living inside the country, are different. People at the seaside are always a bit more open than people in the countryside. So, for example, in place where I am living, we have high mountains and deep valleys, and the culture in one valley is different from the culture in the next valley. So they don't even understand the language in these valleys. So this is, I think, hard to understand for someone who is living in the Netherlands, because there are no separate valleys. Or
We have here different, the east is different from the west.
okay, yes.
In the west, they are more quick and more direct than here in the east.
Okay, yeah.
So there are people who worked in the west and then came in the east, and they said they couldn't settle right because in the east there was more. It was not that quick. It took too long. Decision making was too long.
Yeah.
So even here.
It's interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe finally, it would be good to think about what do you think have you as a psychodramatist be aware of when you are working with different cultures? So what is the essence for you when you think about, okay, now I think about different cultures and what would I change or what would I do working with people from another culture or with a group which is in another culture? I don't know if you want to talk in smaller groups. So this could also be a possibility that we make smaller groups that you can talk to each other. Would you like or?
I wouldn't. Already we are small. It's small.
Okay, yeah, we are not too many.
So I have an answer. For me, different culture, when working with different culture, first language comes to my mind. Shall I understand or will they understand me? So nowadays, the language is the most important thing. The emotions, the cohesion, if the cohesion is good, so the other differences become
less important.
Easily they are solved. So the language is important for me.
Good, thank you.
And for me, I think some religious differences is important for me while I was working with the groups, because in Turkey there are different religious behaviors for people. I'm working in the southeast of Turkey. I don't use to behave some religious things. I don't use that rules or the other things, but now I'm working with the men and the university students also, and their religious behaviors or treatments are different. So it will be a little bit harder for me, and I'm trying to learn their culture, because yes, we are the same in this, maybe in the same culture, but it's new for me. Some of the habits are new for me, religious habits also. So I'm trying, and I ask at first, for example, for touching, we talked before. Yeah. Is it possible to touch you or touch each other? You can touch or you don't want to touch each other. I ask that thing by leading that group. So especially for the religious thing for me.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Another thing could be gender roles. How gender roles are attributed or perceived in that culture is also a real, I think, descriptor of how we will work with that group. I mean, for example, for Turkey, from, as Ebru also mentioned, from region to region, the gender roles really change quite much. From when we work with people from more eastern or more suburban parts of Turkey, we have to be more considerate that men are more in power. But in more Western or with more educated parts of Turkey, we know that it's more balanced. So it's important also to mention this.
Yeah, a good aspect. Yeah, thank you. An example, because it was reminding me when you told it. It was not gender roles, but once I worked in the eastern part of Germany, in the former eastern part of Germany, which was communistic in the former times, and it was not so long that they opened the borders and people could move from one to the other side. And I had a workshop there, and I was aware of the history, so I knew that they had a completely other ideology and like this. And I worked on a comparison between psychodrama, and the other method I am working with is a daydream technique. So don't want to go into details, but it is more or less you are working with a scene on the inner stage, and with a play on the inner stage, and in psychodrama you work on the outer stage. So this is the difference. And I started with a warm up, putting a line on the floor, the inner stage and the outer stage. And this warm up reminded the people to the border they had before, being kept in a country, and they cannot move outside. So they could not realize their dreams or make their dreams true. Which was traumatizing for them. So it caused a complete chaos after it, of emotions, of aggression, it was really difficult. Even if I had known the history behind, it was quite difficult, because I didn't think about that this different method will trigger the whole history of these people. And sometimes you have really to learn the history of the country and to know what happened there. Otherwise, you will kept in a trap. So it was quite difficult to work in this situation. Yeah, but other things you take with you, or other thoughts how to cope with cultural differences. So gender, for example, a difficult thing too.
I also think it is what you also say. It is you have to reflect on the people you're working with, and you have to adapt your attitudes to them.
Yeah.
And I think that is the most important thing. I think.
Yeah.
The language and your attitudes.
Exactly. Yeah. Very good point.
And Jutta, in our country, from the point of gender, there are less men in the groups, more women, but less men. Sometimes I realize that they sit side by side, so they are protected against the women. So even they are intellectual people, even they sit side by side. So in a group when there are less men, I am a little bit. I remind myself that remember that these men will not take roles or will speak less, etc. So I give more care sometimes.
Yeah, very, very important. If you have the culture of men and the culture of women in one group, this is so. I think it's also a lack when there are less women or less men, because one culture is missing in a way. Because if you have only one man in a group or one woman in a group, it's completely different if you have half.
I have experience working with the people from Afghanistan, and for me was very important to know something more about the Afghanistan and traditions and what is specific for them before I started to work, but there wasn't very much time to know. So it took few months when they start to come together, men and women. Before that, there was a group with the men and a group with the women. They didn't mix. But after a few months, they start to come together. And now I'm thinking, then and I was thinking, but now about talking about the culture, that something changed there. Maybe feeling they're safe, or they want to be judged. And it was just small impact in the culture, but it was very interesting to see them coming together, talking together. It was, I learned that everything can be changed if we are patient, if we are making atmosphere of trust.
Yeah.
And using psychodrama on the very gentle, very warm, it was very nice, very specific experience for me. And I learned from them. I was asking them about their culture, about what they want, what they don't want, what they do, they don't do. And we was learning together. I was learning for their culture, they was learning about my culture. And we met somewhere in the middle.
Good. Yeah, I think this is also an example, Mimi, for we are ourselves, we are a culture. So to understand the other one what does the other one like or not like, or even if it is not, if we are in the same country and have the same experience, haven't had the same experience, we can learn the difference from me to someone else and be tolerant, or learn how to cope with it, or to try it out. How would it be if I would behave like the other one in a certain situation? So it's culture is often, how to say, contaminated with prejudice and what we think the other is, or the other people. So we have always, at least we have always one person where we have been in contact with, and this one can be very close to my way of being, even if this one is coming from the other side of the world. And with my neighbor, I can be more different than from a different culture. So culture is not something which is a clear concept. Yeah, it is more we use this in a group to develop rules and behavior to feel safe and to cope with difficult situations. But it's like Moreno would say, these are conserves a group is developing. And it makes it easier when we know the conserves of the other one, and can tolerate the way how they are doing it. And psychodrama, I think, is a perfect way to make a role reversal with these different ways of viewing and behaving and preserving the world. Are there any other experiences in this way, or what do you take with you?
I'm thinking about cultures of, you say, difference between university and private institutes, but I could say I'm thinking now about cultures in different private institutes. In Bulgaria, the first trainers came from different institutes, so we learn from the first 3 groups that learn from outside. One was we learned from Göran Högberg, Sweden, and Gabriela Brun from Switzerland. Another group learned from Grete Lloyd's Institute, teachers, trainers, and another from LMA Institute. And this created difference between us, first generations. There are differences even in terminology, in way of leading, in way of teaching. So this is one side, and we know this, we recognize, we see this, especially when people who are, let's say, be in another institute, first level or self-experience, that came to learn in Orpheus. I see these differences, so I already know them, and we are speaking, discussing them. But now, at last time, there are few people who came from another institute, and this was there. I saw, and we speak also about their surprise, things like especially cultures. Let's say whether the trainers are sharing, or how much they're sharing, what are reactions of trainers to sharing of participants. So even these small things, not theoretical, but just really cultural, of way of leading, way of working
Yeah,
interpersonal.
yeah. Good point. Thank you. We are coming to an end now. Maybe you can say one sentence how you experienced this way of presentation or working together and learning from each other. What do you think was good? What was bad? Anything you
I would like to share an experience. I began an experience with the Francophone culture, psychodramatic culture, in the name of Anne Schutzenberger. Torino hosts her archive. Anne Schutzenberger donated in 2014 her archive to Moreno Museum Association and in the city of Torino, and her archive arrived here, and we worked 3 years to do a a very complicated inventory to organize the word of Anna Schutzenberger. This word is in Torino now. And this is the reason, because the Francophone schools, they have 2 important schools around Colettes Manjot, the first school, and around Michel Bromet-Camus, the second school. And I organized a kind of bridge between Anna Schutzenberger's archive in Torino and the Francophone world, and with those 2 schools. I was invited by them to work with them, with the students, and they have a particular kind of psychodrama, not only an analytic psychodrama, but a psychodrama went from Anna Schutzenberger. So for me, was and is a very important experience of connecting between my experience of psychodrama, my model of psychodrama with Giovanni Boria in Italy, Paola De Leonardis. Paola De Leonardis was my teacher, main teacher, and the word of Anna Schutzenberger, triadic word and different languages, and those 2 schools are different between them. So it is a very important, a very, very strange experience. They choose an Italian man, a psychodramatist, to help them, even help help them to connect them in the world of Anna Schutzenberger. So I'm doing a very rich and deep experience of connecting myself, connecting my model of psychodrama, my culture, my language, my theory. Do you remember the maps, the 2 maps we presented? Yes, with Paola De Leonardis. This model, this word with the word of Anna Schutzenberger. So thank you for this, for having the possibility to share with you this moment of mine, and thank you, Jutta, because of your words and because of your research, about this very, very important aspect of the world of psychodrama, not only with the different cultures, people, but psychodramatic cultures. And thank you to Galabina, because her words about the different schools in Bulgaria. And this is our moment, and our moment, historical moment.
Thank you.
Can I add something? What I like about the cultural approach is that we stay out of the discussion what is right or what is wrong. But the cultural approach makes people more curious about the other. And I think that works a lot more than working, I say, no, this is my right approach, or that is the right approach.
Yeah, yeah. And I think in future we need much more to bring cultures together, also on a broader level, like nationalities or like this.
I think that it's more, for me, it's most important to connect the souls, not only the minds, the souls, so the souls are right. The soul are right. The soul is right.
I want to say that first, thank you, Jutta. For me, was very interesting because now I become aware that I'm working with this culture question all time, but never thought about this before, like this, concentrate on the culture. And thank to Psychodrama.World for organizing these events.
Yeah.
And I think that it is very important for our FEPTO culture. And because my motivation first to come here is to find something nice, beautiful in FEPTO culture. It's not just the problems and bylaw and constitution, and I don't know, but something why we love psychodrama, why I love psychodrama and being in FEPTO. So thank you very much. It was very, very nice experience for me. Thank you, Jutta.
Thank you, Mimi. Thank you, Marco.
Bye. Ciao, ciao,
Goodbye.
Jutta. Ciao, ciao,
Goodbye.
Mimi. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, Anna. Ciao,
Good
Tita.
night. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Good night.
Ciao.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Ciao.
Good night.
Ciao, Arsa Luis.
Thank you, Jutta. Thank you.
Thank you, Arsha, for being
Ciao, Arsha. Ciao,
here.
Arsha.